So some mornings you get out there, you make some really cool photographs, and you feel really good about what's going on in the field. And then there are mornings that just tug at you and challenge you and make you wonder what you're doing. I'm going to let you decide which one of those mornings this was for me. Stay tuned to the end. I'm going to show you all the photographs at the end, and there's a special little treat coming, and I'll warn you about that later. Good morning, or at least it is for me again. I don't know when you're watching this, but it's morning. We're at Big Spring in Missouri, and I'm set up for my first composition, which I'm actually going to shoot 2 shots, same composition, 2 different lenses. I'm going to start out with the 24 to 85 kit lens that I have, and then I'm going to go to the 70 to 300 that I have to get a little bit more reach on it. I'm not sure which one I'm going to like better, and seeing as it's quite a drive from home, I might as well get a slightly wider shot and a more detailed, closer shot. So I'm going to set up on this, take that, we'll walk you through it in just a little bit. So I'm not liking it at 85 mil. I really thought this dead tree here would be a nice leading line, but it's way too far away from the subject. So the 24 to 85 is out. I'm going to switch over to the 70 to 300, but before I do that, I just want to walk you through the composition idea here. A lot of the foreground is rushing water from the main spring, and then there's a secondary vent for this spring, or outlet for this spring, right across, that has these nice little cascades. This spring actually flows about 288 million gallons, yeah, 288 million gallons a day. It's incredible. I'm going to switch over to the other lens, the 70 to 300, get a little bit tighter because the light is just kind of perfect over there. And if I need to, I'll pop on some filters. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. So here's the disappointment that I had out in the field. The composition was supposed to have this leading line of this log that had fallen into the spring stream that flows down to the current river, pointing at one of the main outflows that is kind of a cascade across the way there. But at 24 millimeters, the spring's cascade on the far side is just too small for my liking in this photograph. I didn't even bother post-processing this. It's just to show you that it doesn't always go as planned when you're out in the field. And that's why I was disappointed, because I could see that in the back of the camera. So I thought I would share that experience with you guys. If you like that, I'd like to see some of that in the videos, because I think you have to be upfront and kind of transparent that not everything makes a great photo. Even when you think, it's going to work in the field, it sometimes doesn't. So if you like that kind of thing, I'm willing to share more. Give me a comment. So for my second attempt at that composition in the field that day, I had my 70 to 300 mil lens on. I zoomed it in to about 78 mil. I still wasn't happy with the composition. There was too much water in the foreground. It felt a little too naked or open. And there was too much debris around the cascade, and that just drew my eye in every direction but where I wanted the focus of the photograph, which is that cascade. So this just goes to show that you don't always get the composition right the first time, but if you stick with it in the field, you will get it narrowed down to what makes a much better and stronger photograph. So I've showed you 2 examples of weak compositions that I knew weren't the best in the field, and I feel like sharing that helps create more of a community feeling here. If you like what I'm doing in this video specifically, leave me a comment down below and join in the discussion. What do you see in these two failed compositions, these examples of failure, that you might see in your own photographs? Now, trust me, we did get a shot that day, and I also got a panoramic that I will show you at the end of the video. I didn't talk about it in the field because after having these two failures, I was a little bit down, and there were a lot of people there that day. I'm comfortable talking to camera in front of people, but when there's lots of people around, I still lose my focus a little bit. So bear with me. You know, this is a journey, and I'm thankful that you're all hanging in there and watching along with me as we go through this photographic journey. Okay, so I'm really glad that I decided to try both lenses, seeing as I'm here. I've got the 70 to 300 on right now, zoomed into about 200 mil, f11 with a 20th of a second, and we're doing the wave of hatred, as Gavin Hardcastle would say today, because the gnats are, well, they're thick as thieves. So with this shot in at 200 mil, I love the composition, and real briefly, the light's still gorgeous. It's just great. It's giving me a lot of shadows and contrast and some highlights to work with over there. So what I've done is I've framed up the cascades coming off this part of the spring. One's here, leads you into the main cascade, and then on the other side, if I can get my finger to work, because I'm so close, this right here brings you back into the main cascade too. So I've got that silky smooth water look that I was looking for and hoping for, and the gnats are really thick. So I'm gonna hike down the Sluice Trail. It's a trail that runs on the west side of the spring, and see what we can find down there. We were here a couple nights ago when we first got down to Big Spring Campground, checked it out. We were here about 20 minutes before sunset, and this time of year the sun is well behind the bluff, so it's pretty much in total shade. So it's definitely a morning location. So let's head on down that trail and see what else we can find today. Okay, so we're still at Big Spring, and this is the second composition. I'm set up closer to the main mouth of the spring, source of the spring. And what I've got on is the 14 to 24. I'm at closer to 24 mil at f11, shooting 3 bracket exposures between a 20th and an 1/8 of a second. I'm gonna have to blend them together in post to get the water to look the way that I want, so that it's not totally blown out, and to be able to get some of the highlights lessened, and then the shadow areas brought up a little bit. So I'll walk you through the composition real quick here. So in the foreground, I got these 3 rocks, these rocky features, and there's another rock, 3 rocks out here with a tree that you can't really see here because it's too dark. That's why I had to go all the way to an 1/8 of a second, is to get the detail in the shadow areas in the background, and in that background area. But if I go to an 1/8 of a second, all this white water gets blown out. So that's why I've got a 30th of a second in there too. So that's the composition for number 2. We're gonna continue down the trail and see what else I can find. So this is the cascade outlet that I shot from the other side of the main flow. The sun's at the wrong angle because the only places to stand are where you're going to cast a shadow over any subjects of this cascade outlet. So either earlier or later for this. I'm thinking we're gonna come back. We're not that far away, so maybe we'll come back later this afternoon and just photograph this side. Let's keep walking, see if I can find something else. Okay, so we reached the end of the trail. It's 11 o'clock, not the best light in the world. And you know what? It's really time for second breakfast. So we're gonna head back to the truck, get back to the place we're staying and eat some second breakfast. Maybe we will come back this afternoon when the light gets a little bit better because we're not that far away. Maybe we won't. If we don't, thanks for watching. If you haven't yet done so, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell for future notifications, and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you down the trail.